your life is on the line and you know that you're on an oxygen tank and they're going to put two in your head, see what you do. Because the bottom line is that me, I'm one person. I can never miss.
The guy's not being loyal to you. How could you be loyal to him?
Yeah.
And whether you're your father or not. So, you know, but it's always been hard because it was my father.
The word came down, this guy had to go. You know, we didn't know nothing about it until the last minute. And I liked him. I liked Billy. He was a nice guy, but...
Welcome to the show. Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got a really good show for you guys. Today, I got a video where I interviewed Mr. Jack O'Halloran. If you guys don't know, Jack O'Halloran is Albert Anastasia's son, and I got him for you guys. So before we get started, make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, put the bell on all so you get all my content every time it drops. Let's get into the video.
I had people all nervous at the end of the bar, yelling at people and stuff. So I told the bartender, I said, "Get the guy a glass of milk on me, will you?" He said, "What, Jack?" I said, "Get the guy a glass of milk on me." And the guy took a glass of milk and went down there and gave it to him. And the guy looked up like he was going to rip somebody's head off or some jazz like that, you know what I mean? And I said, "Well, if you're a pussy, you might as well drink milk."
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Jack O'Halloran. What's up, Jack?
You got it all, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing great. Things are moving in a really good direction.
Well, I'm doing the best I can, whatever they let me get away with.
Same here. You survived the hurricanes. Been pretty brutal with the weather, huh?
Oh, it's been gorgeous down there now. Hurricane's gone. Now they're having a terrible time in Acapulco.
I know. I don't know what's going on. Like all over the country, a bunch of different things are happening.
Mother Nature.
Some things are not Mother Nature. I guess there's no avoiding that type of stuff, huh?
Very sad what's going on in Israel and stuff.
It really is.
Just don't, they have such great intelligence, yet they let this slide. They should have stopped this a long time ago.
Yeah.
Never let these guys get this strong.
Why do they keep letting people into our country? I don't understand.
Our country, they're now afraid that there's cells over here. They've been catching like 300 and some people that are on the terrorist list for the FBI coming across the border down south.
They got to do something about that because
they sure will do. No worries about that.
We're not going to last long with that type of stuff going on.
I'll have to get my pea shooter out.
Yeah. I can't even own a pea shooter, so I'll have to get my slingshot out or something.
You remember those pea shooters? You ever have one when you were a kid?
What,
like a long straw, you could shoot a pea through it.
Oh, little, yeah.
Pea shooter.
So today, a lot of people love the interviews we do, and matter of fact, there's one premiering tonight. It's part 3 of one of our interviews. And I figured I would surprise them with a sneak interview, like in between, Okay. So what I want to talk about today is when you were boxing, right? When you were on your come-up career into your boxing career, was there any times that you had to go collect money for people? Because I know that was a big thing, right?
Collect money from people?
Yeah, they're like, have the boxer do it. Go collect the money from the big guy. Go ahead.
I was very much involved in the unions in those days. And in fact, when the Rocky movie, I was the gangster fighter. He picked my brain when he came. We did Farewell, My Lovely. He never spent any time in Philadelphia. And I told him about my relationship with Hoffa, and every day we pick my brain about the Waterfront and all the things that we used to do down there. And
Can you explain what's some of the things you would do down at the Waterfront?
Well, breaking up strikes and stuff like that, making sure everybody paid attention to what they're supposed to do.
Did they like press on them to vote a certain way? Is that like what it was? But putting influence towards people?
He used to catch, everybody tried to have some kind of a gimmick on the waterfront off of the boats and stuff, and who was taking product and stuff like that. And so the Teamsters, got involved and put an end to all that. So there wouldn't be any strikes or anything related to, just kept order. It's like, keeping law and order,
Was there times
we did that with the iron workers? We did it with the Teamsters, the iron workers, all the unions. Bartenders, we controlled the bartender waiter union from Philadelphia to Atlantic City.
Did you have to break, did you ever catch thieves? Like, were they saying, hey, people keep hitting these certain docks? Would you have to go down there and stop it?
Yeah.
So what would be the plan? You just grab a bunch of guys and go down there?
Well, myself and a couple people. We didn't need a bunch. We didn't need an army.
Yeah, I mean,
handy kid when I was young.
Tell the people how tall you are, and because people probably don't get a grasp of how tall you really are.
6'6". Then I was 6'6", and I was weighing about 240. I was in fight condition because I was training all the time. And people know you. When you're around things, you're doing things, and people know who you are. When they see you coming, they start sweating bullets, and they know they're going to get caught. That's the foolishness of people that do stupid things, and they know they're going to get jammed up doing it. And, some people trying to create a problem so they could create a strike or some shit like that. And so you went down and put a halt to it before it got started.
Is there any people that come to mind that you remember where they were trying to push back to start strikes and things?
Well, you have different, you always have different breakers of trying to break the union up and stuff, and trying to infiltrate the union and trying to, backdoor it. So, you just put a stop to it. It's just become like a daily habit. You go around, it's like policing your area. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you see a problem starting, you try to catch it before it gets too infested.
So did you know Bert?
Like in the bartender and waiters union, when we control all the clubs and all the bars, and they had to show them how to stop people from robbing them and stealing them, and bringing in the bartenders that bring their own bottles in and stuff like that. And
but still, you would still have problems, right? You would still have problems where you would have to. They'd be like, call you up and say, hey, we got this guy coming and pressing on our club. They're asking us for money, but we're with you guys. So your job is to go confront the people and be like, listen, don't mess with them, right?
I'll tell you a funny story. I was in Long Beach one time, and there was a guy. I was down in Long Beach, and it was a waterfront down there. And there was a great bar that everybody hung out in. There's always a bully somewhere. There was a guy who was shaking people down and all that stuff. And a friend of mine said, would you please go up and sort this out? So I walked into the bar, and I saw the guy had people all nervous at the end of the bar, yelling at people and stuff. So I told the bartender, I said, get the guy a glass of milk on me, will you? He said, what, Jack? I said, give the guy a glass of milk on me. And the guy took a glass of milk and went down there and gave it to him. And the guy looked up like he was going to rip somebody's head off or some jazz like that. You know what I mean? And I said, well, if you're a pussy, you might as well drink milk, And he started some bullshit and stuff like that. And So I just said, you know what, kid? Have a nice day. And when I left, the bartender said to him, you just made the worst mistake of your life because he's going to be waiting for you. And we visited him before he got home.
Was he drinking out of the bowl after that?
Well, he was in the hospital for 6 months.
I believe it. I mean,
sometimes you just got to be, taking care of business because people like to shake people down, lending the money and then try to loan shark them and stuff like that. And when they had no business doing it. And when you have a territory, you're supposed to maintain the proper.
So, but what do you do with the people who keep running their mouth after they get taken care of like that? Because that always happens, right?
They don't run their mouth anymore.
Yeah, after the first time, it's no more, right?
Trust me, they don't run their mouth anymore.
Yeah.
Or they find another state to go to.
Yeah, to hide out. Times are changing, man. So
we had, you had a relationship with the law. And rather than them have to get involved in all that stuff, we took care of business ourselves. And they appreciate it because what are they going to do? Come out and try and lock somebody up, and it's all goes through the garbage syndrome. So it was easier for us to straighten the deal out.
You were in the Philadelphia area quite a bit, right? In your earlier years?
I was raised there, yeah.
Yeah. So do you know about Joey Merlino having a podcast now?
Joey's a trip.
Yeah. He's got a podcast. He's doing his thing out on YouTube. What do you think of that?
I mean, Sammy Gravano's got a podcast. They're all doing. Sammy Gravano is a serious guy. Joey Merlino is a young kid that came up and there was nobody there. So, he's a nice kid, but.
Yeah, but he never cooperated, and Sammy Gravano did. So there's pretty big.
But you got to understand something. Sammy Gravano was in New Jersey, taking care of his own business. He had a horse farm. He took care of all of his business from Jersey. He never wanted to be involved with John. He didn't like John. Nobody did. Sammy was a straightforward. Took care of business, a good. I like Sammy a lot, and Gambino forced him to team up with John, and then they killed Castellano, and the cops grabbed Sammy and they started pushing him. And Sammy told him to go to hell, boom, boom, boom. And then they said something to him that the only person that knew it was John. So John ratted on him first.
You think
they
so?
Said something that Sammy did, and the only person that knew he did it was John Gotti. You understand?
But what about all the other people that Sammy cooperated against? Because he didn't just cooperate against John Gotti; it was a whole bunch of people.
No, it was John Gotti. He went at. He said when they told him that, he said, "Oh, John, yeah, fuck." The hell with John Gotti, and then he just said, but him. But Sammy was, he lives out in Arizona now, and I like Sammy. Sammy's a good guy. Sammy was not a rat. John ratted on him and opened the door.
I mean, people look at it.
People don't know that. But
people look at it different ways, man. I guess we can agree to disagree.
Yeah, he was. Sammy was a good. Sammy took care of his own business, and he did it very well. And John.
I just feel.
John opened that door.
I feel like Sammy still thinks he's in the mob, like he still has some nobility, and when you cooperate with the government, all that goes away. And I think he's trying to rewrite history with some of the things. He's making up all these crazy stories.
They do podcasts, these guys, and they tell, he's not the only one.
There's piles of them.
A dozen of them that I know that one kid, what's his name? Goddamn. His father was the oldest guy in prison. He was 102.
Oh, Michael Francis.
Michael Francese. Michael Francese's got a podcast. Talks a lot. And Michael, he was a rat. Michael Francese was a rat. And then he turned religious.
People say that too.
Like, he was. There was no two ways about it. He was.
What about John Gotti Jr.? What do you think of him?
Oh, please, John. He's a poor excuse for a human being. And so is John's brother. I mean, John Gotti Jr. They went into his club in New York and went into his office and opened the drawer, and there's all drug paraphernalia, a notebook with all people who paid this and that, and everything that the FBI or any law enforcement would thrive to get their hands on was sitting right there in his desk drawer. How stupid is that?
In Junior's?
Yeah, John Gotti Jr.
Wow.
Yeah,
He's coming.
He had a club in Manhattan.
He's coming out with a podcast too.
They all come out. They're making money. Don't you understand?
It's not millions though.
These guys doing podcasts. They're all making money, and God bless them. I thought, not me. That's not my stick. They got to do what they got to do.
I mean, yeah. I mean, it's
I got no
wild.
time. I got no time for Michael. Sammy, and I have no problem. But John Gotti Jr., forget about it. And same as John's brother. I mean, John himself was not the Teflon Don going around, walking around. I remember he called me on the phone one day. He said, "Well, Jack, I can help you out on your acting career because you was helping Mickey Rourke or somebody else." I said, he said, "You got to come back and sit down and talk to me." I said, "John, I wouldn't come in your office on a serious bet that your office has got more bugs than a bug yard." Well,
and then he was making people go there. Why would he make people go there knowing that all the cops are watching?
Well, he said to me, he told me, "Oh no, we turned the bugs off." I said, "Yeah, you turn them off for 5 minutes, and then as soon as you turn them off, and you wait 5 minutes, they turn them back on again." So who are you kidding? Forget about it.
Wow. So he knew that the cops were bugging his office?
Well, sure. I mean, they don't do things. He walked around for a long time because he had a mouth. He had a big mouth.
So you were on the other side.
I didn't have a lot of time for John. John made me mad one day when he said, "Well, I really loved your father." I said, "Don't you ever mention my father's name again, and I'll put you in the ocean."
Wait, so where did you guys' relationship start? Like, where did you first hear about John or meet him?
John?
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people in New York used to come to me for certain things and stuff, and John surfaced as out of he lived over on Staten Island, and I don't know. He was just he never impressed me. I wouldn't even take the time to sit down and talk to him.
What about Big Paul?
What?
Was there any other people in the Gambino family that you had connections with? What about Big Paul?
Oh, I knew Carl Gambino was my father's underboss. It was the Anastasia family before it became the Gambino family. When they assassinated my father in '57, they assassinated him because he wouldn't go in the drug business. And The Godfather, when Brando said, "If we touch it, our children will touch it, it'll be the downfall." My father said that. He took that from my father. My father controlled all the ports, and he didn't want to bring the drugs in. He said, "We didn't sign up for this. This is not our deal."
Vito Genovese was heavily involved with the heroin, right?
Say it again.
Vito Genovese was heavily involved with the heroin.
Well, he got involved in the heroin in the 30s when he got deported, and he opened up a plant down in Sicily, and they were bringing the drugs up from South America and different places, and they were bringing them over into the States. And the people that were involved with him were called Zips. They weren't even allowed to be called Italians because the Italian people didn't like the drug business. the old mob didn't like it at all. And you got to understand something, that the government, there was an understanding with the government. Frank Costello had the greatest political book of anybody. And Frank sat everybody down at the commission and said, listen, they don't bother us with loan shark and all those things we do, gambling and all that stuff. They don't bother us. We had a great relationship. They just will not tolerate us getting involved in drugs, because the government was involved with drugs. George Bush was partners with Noriega.
Yeah, they were putting a lot of cocaine on the streets back in the day.
You got to understand, there were 4 banks in New York that lent a lot of money to South America for so-called agricultural loans, and they weren't. They were procuring the drug business, and all those banks flourished with money, and nobody ever batted an eye, and it's just it's a filthy business.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you all for joining me tonight. I hope you liked that little clip of mine and Jack's interview. There's a whole lot more to come. Probably 4 more parts, about 20 minutes each. So I'm going to be dropping a lot of content. If you guys don't know, I interviewed Nate and Nick Diaz's coach. Shout out to Dan Black. Great interview, and that one will be out very soon. If you guys are into MMA and Nick and Nate Diaz, you definitely want to tune in for this interview. And there's a bunch of things. We got Michio Monday tomorrow at 9 p.m. Don't miss it. There's going to be some announcements. Nafsika, how are you? Shout out to Nafsika Antipas. I still got to drop the rest of your interview. I have so many to do. It gets overwhelming at times. Steve, what's up? Maureen, how are you? Rogue, what's going on? Interviewing bosses. You already know, man. Shout out to everybody out there who takes the time to watch this show. I'm just putting in work. And we finally hit 7,500 subscribers, and I'm very happy. I think I got 7,550, but it's a lot for me to have that many subscribers. It's just amazing, and I can't thank you guys enough. We're just getting started. If you guys like this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And if you don't like this content, write a comment. Tell me why. And if you really, really don't like it after that, start your own podcast. I might be back on later, but tomorrow at 11, you don't want to miss that one.